All right, let's get down. All right, hello and welcome back to another 5K tennis discussion. Today is Tuesday, February 18th, 2020. And I think, by the way, I was fixing to jump right into the first topic I had. But I think you said, Carla, you wanted to start with a viewer comment from yesterday.
Yeah, well, it was based on yesterday's subject that we said Becker stated that Federer is not the GOAT, or is not the greatest of all time, or what was the exact article that he said?
Well,
I don't listen to Becker because he's got so much drama in his life.
Well, I think it was something along the lines, if you just look at the numbers. Then, and it wasn't Becker, it was a lot of people.
Well,
Tracy, Austin, Becker, and tens of thousands of fans, and this debate will go on endlessly, but it's fun to have every once in a while, as long as the comments stay respectable, and they definitely did.
Yeah, and I love your passion that you guys have for Djokovic, and a lot of you guys that defended Federer, and then you brought Nadal into it. Great comments. I think one viewer mentioned a boxer. It was good. It made me look into the boxing history. And I learned a lot from doing that. But there was one viewer that I have to mention. He was neutral. And his name is Predrag Ristic. He said, first and foremost, congrats guys on an awesome channel that you put so much effort into, even though you have many responsibilities. This daunting discussion debate regarding the GOAT is purely marketing driven. And honestly, we cannot make a clear decision based on numbers until all three players end their respective careers. That said, regardless of who your favorite player is amongst the big three, we should all acknowledge that they will all be sorely missed once they stop playing. Once again, thank you guys. You are one of the rare channels that analyze tennis in a respectful and professional manner.
Wonderful comment.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, he kindly indicated thanks for all the effort. Number one, a humble thank you to him, and it was
Predrag. I'm sorry
about
butchering your name.
Where do I see that? Predrag. Okay. The thanks is to you. The thanks always goes to all of you. Only because Carla and I, we coach tennis. We wake up and string rackets. We bring kids. We coach all walks of life. We help out with our high school boys team, which we have a high school boys match today, where our two oldest of 5 children play number 1 and 2 on their high school tennis team. So we've got that going on. But we always talk tennis. One day we decided to sit down and talk tennis in front of a camera, and man, that was about a 4-hour ordeal. But nonetheless, people started commenting, and the beautiful thing again about tennis is it's a global language. I say this all the time, so I won't get into that again. But it's work. Yes, there's effort. Yes, but at the same time, it's fun. So thank you for making it more fun in our lives. I know we have a good time doing it. So much love. Vamos, let's go. I'm going to start today's show on a positive segment, because I do have one negative one coming up second. Last night, Carla and I caught a glimpse of a young 16-year-old by the name of Carlos Alcaraz Garcia. That's with an F and not a C in Garcia, or Garcia, not Garcia, Garcia. However, I think basically he goes Carlos Alcaraz, and he's a Spanish player, 16 years old, coached by Juan Carlos Ferrero, as we should all know about. Took out a respectable Ramos Vinolas last night in the Rio Open, and a 3-hour and 36-minute match. Yes, it was on clay. Yes, we watched it. The young man played in his first ATP event here with the luck of a wild card. Traveled across the world from Spain and touched down clearly halfway across the world, and took out a veteran player in 3 sets. Oddly enough, or coincidentally, he will face Federico Coria in the next round, who is Guillermo Coria's younger brother. Now, let's not get the age younger brother confused with the 16-year-old. Federico's 27 years old, has been playing for, his entire life. We talked about him before, actually, at other tournaments and so forth. But can anyone forget that...
This kid's been playing since he was 4 years old, like our little guy.
Yeah, we can't forget. Didn't Guillermo Coria have... Wasn't he up 2-0
Disastrous.
Against Gaston Gaudio? Yeah. Had leg cramps, if I don't remember, lost the next 2 sets, and then was up a break in the final set, and then had 2 match points against Gaston Gaudio and lost the match.
And then his career went.
Yeah, downhill. But good for Coria to have his 27-year-old younger brother in this match. But this kid Carlos Alcaraz, I want to mention something real quick. It was about this age, 16, where we caught notice of a young aspiring Federer, Boris Becker, Stefan Edbergs. This is about the ripe age where you start seeing potential for future champions. Novak Djokovic. When you're 22 years old, Zverev's age and a lot of these other next gen cheesy ages, which is
a lot of this weak generation.
Yeah.
Because I heard that yesterday, weak era. Well, this is a weak era too.
It's at this age where champions are thrust generally that are going to have the capacity to win 17, 19, 20 majors respectively. And let me tell you, this kid Carlos Alcaraz, granted it's his first match, he's a whopping 1-0 on the ATP level.
He's ranked 406 in the world.
406 in the world.
That's not bad.
But he's a man child. He's ripped off. He's like boom. He looks like he wants to fight and battle. I read an article where he said after the match, this was the wee hours of this morning here. That's how into this dude we were. He was soldier ripped. Like he was going for shots. He would miss a lot of those shots. Now, a couple of the young issues at 16 that he had, he needs to work on serve, and he's not a very fluid mover. He moves laterally too much. There was a lot of instances last night where he could have cut the ball off a little bit sooner, taken the ball early, but he would run laterally, let the ball bounce short or three-quarter court, get up on him, and then even drop on him, hit off the back foot, and dink it in the net. We see a lot of this with American players that are still, in their 20s, hitting the loopy forehands off their back foot, kind of like Sakari or Allison wrist forehand. She doesn't even turn. She's just like, ah! Sounds like she's getting her arms sawed off, and she doesn't even turn, and she makes this crazy noise.
I'm looking at his ITF record: 4 wins, 1 losses on clay. Hardcourt, 10 wins and 0 losses.
Kid's a man child, and he's 16. Watch out for him. I only mention him because I think he has potential, and he's 16, not 22, 23, 24, still trying to find an answer for why I was in the next gen, and now I'm not even around. Watch out for this kid. Be real.
It was refreshing seeing somebody new. It definitely was refreshing. Somebody we've never seen before, and maybe, who knows, right?
Kid can play the game.
The next Rafa, even though he doesn't have his style at all.
He's more aggressive.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of cheesy when I hear commentators or other people, go up to a player and they're like, well, who do you model your game after,
He doesn't model his game after.
Don't you think that's the stupidest thing where some journalist or some, naive, that's the only question they can think of because they're, I guess showing up for a press conference and they say, who do you model your game after? I mean, I've never heard that being asked to me my entire life. We model it after ourselves. I want to kick your ass the way I know I'm going to kick your ass. I'm me. What are you talking about? Who do you model? Well, I'm not a copycat. I'm gonna beat you down, and I'm gonna do whatever I can in my toolbook in my own unique mind. We're all unique human beings. So I think it's so stupid when someone says, "Well, who do you model your game after?" Am I looking at myself in the camera and I just want to ask you that question because it's the only question I would have asked? It's a stupid question. The kid doesn't model his game after anybody. I think that's a dumb question. He's a unique human being. He's new in the game, and I hope he brings something unique.
He was playing juniors at Wimbledon last year.
Who do you model your game after? Come up with a better question than that. So stupid. Is there any 2 identical human beings on the planet with the exception of identical twins, and even there's some mental differences? Anyway, who do you model your game after? I model after myself, and I'm coming to beat that ass. Let's go! Show you some soldier shit. All right, next topic. This one may take a negative tone, and I'll tell you why. This actually came from an article I read this morning. I love the article. So my negative tone isn't about the article. The article for me was a perfect article and took the exact epitome of the flavor of U.S. men's tennis and channeled it perfectly. So I read an article this morning, and it was written by, and I hope I pronounce this individual's name right, Jovica, Jovica Ilic, Ilic. Jovica Ilic, pardon me if I mispronounced that. And this was in the Tennis World. This was an online periodical. And it was titled, Mitchell Kruger blasts the home crowd in Delray Beach after receiving no support. I'll elaborate. The Delray Beach, and we discussed this briefly yesterday, the Delray Beach tournament is always, well, it has been since, 2004 and 5 time frame since...
I volunteered there, and I had I had my, what do they call it, when they rape you? I forgot.
NTRP?
NTRP, I had Chris Everett's brother rape me. So
yeah,
I've been there many times.
been around the location, at it. And let's be real. Let's talk about U.S. men's tennis real quick in the past 15 seasons. The past 15. How do you
Well,
say?
and I wrote. I guess we wrote something yesterday
Yeah,
about the wasted wild cards on Americans.
Yeah, we wrote something yesterday, and then I read this morning, and I think Jovica Ilic, again pronunciation, I think she or he hit it perfectly. In the last 15 years, combined in men's tennis, only 4 Masters 1000s wins and no majors. That's abhorrent. That's sad.
Probably the last person I left with was Andy Roddick.
Probably Roddick in there.
Yeah.
I was so depressed looking at that. I didn't even want to look any further because it doesn't even
Maybe
matter.
Isner. Maybe
Isner maybe in there. I think Jack Sock won a rare.
Oh yeah, Jack Sock.
Jack Sock won a rare Paris Masters.
That's
I think.
right. That's right.
So.
Yes.
This article that she wrote about, Kruger had found himself in the 3rd round of qualies for this Delray Beach tournament. And he gets into the 3rd round and he finds himself in a 3rd set deciding tiebreaker against Cam Norrie. Respect to both players. There was zero support there for him. Zero. His quote, not mine. Zero. And he lost the match. Now, it is very, very difficult to become a tennis player, to play at any level that, I don't care if it's, 5-0 men's open or
5-0 is good.
5-0, men's open, or if you're playing challengers or futures, or if you're playing 250s, whatever. It's an incredibly hard thing to do, and there's a lot of hungry people everywhere, right? So if you're going and playing a match in your own country, much less in Florida where there's a ton of tennis, especially in that area, and you show up there and you lose and you look around, there's no support, how does that make you feel as an athlete coming from that country? Does that make you depressed? Like, I've tried so hard my whole life and there's no one here to help me.
I think he's like 26.
Yeah, he's been around. So doesn't that in a way
it's discouraging.
It's discouraging,
It's
right?
discouraging to the American player. Here you are in American soil, Delray Beach. Well, he's in an area where it's a big melting pot, a lot of Spanish people, but it's a big melting pot there. So, that's tough for him. That's tough. Here we are, scholarships not given to Americans. Most of the people training here are not Americans. Can't support him in a tournament. What's wrong here? What, do we not like tennis? Do Americans not like tennis? Are they just that ignorant that they don't want to learn about the sport?
There are a lot of reasons why this decline has occurred, and I think in coaching platforms and seminars and places that we have been in this same discussion, I think 95% of the arguments are this. The death of U.S. players playing on college teams here in the United States. No disrespect to any college coaches out there. Your job is to win or you get fired. And we have a couple very good friends that coach major universities.
It's their job.
It's their job.
They want to save their jobs.
And they have wonderful families and they are American citizens or not. It doesn't matter. But they have to win or they themselves lose, right? So I understand it. But why can't they find respectable American players? We've talked about this. The boys these days are softer than they used to be. We talked about this yesterday. My soon-to-be 18-year-old son, Jonathan, oldest of 5, if I was 18 right now and got in his face, he'd be nothing to me. And no disrespect to my son, but the boys are developing, in my opinion, a little bit later in the U.S., and they are soldiers ready to fight the struggle and get down elsewhere. Right. Even if they come here to train from elsewhere, which a lot of them do. A lot of players play for other countries that train in like the Bradenton area of Florida.
A whole bunch. In Florida, a whole bunch.
And assload.
A whole bunch. Almost all of them.
In the Bahamas, they come to train elsewhere, but they're not changing flags. So we talk about a lot of people that do go elsewhere and change their flag. So it's half a dozen one way and a half a dozen the other way. So the death of Americans playing on college tennis is rampant, but you can't blame the college coaches, especially at super high levels where you're only as good as your last season.
You can't blame them. It all starts from the coaching. If these foreigners get the scholarships, guess what happens? Next, they take the coach's job. So now you don't have American coaches, right? Now it's someone else from a different country. So who are they going to recruit? They're going to keep recruiting from overseas. They're not going to want to mess with American kids, and that's what it starts with us. If we're not teaching right, then how do we expect to make these American kids better?
No,
everyone I meet speaks a different language with a different accent. They're not even from here.
as coaches, Carla, I do have to take. I think we can look at sometimes the outcome of a certain thing, but you say it's up to us as coaches. Let me tell you where I think it's even more so important than that. I think it's up to us as parents that have kids that are aspiring to be tennis players.
True, because we make excuses for them.
Let me explain this. Carla, you and I, again, 5 kids, and we're tennis coaches. We were born into it, and all of our kids have been born into it, and they all play. So they understand it. They understand it's a battle. They understand that they're going to go out and every day no matter what. They understand that. But a lot of parents have children, and God bless all the parents. They have children they're putting into the game of tennis. They themselves maybe weren't schooled in life their whole life. And what happens with coaching, though, is their parents are led to believe that they can take their kid to the local country club or have a hitting lesson with someone else. They get an hour lesson on a Monday, they get a hitting lesson on a Wednesday, and they go out and play with maybe their buddy on Friday. And then they go back to the coach on Monday, and the coach is like, yeah, they're doing so good. Look at that forehand. This is something we see in the U.S. a lot. Coaches butter the parents up, have them striking forehands that are loopy and ugly, but the parents don't know any better, so they're like, ooh, look at my kid. My kid can hit a cross-court full Western grip loopy forehand, but can hardly do anything else. But the parents are fed, in my opinion, lies by a lot of coaches simply to keep the lessons going.
I'm going to go a different route from you. Here's the issue.
The parents have a big part because they are naive of what it really takes.
Let's change it a bit. Here's the issue. A lot of things that I experience is that here their kids want to play tennis. They come and get lessons, but they're not devoted. The parents, every week it's an excuse. Oh, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing this, they're doing that. That's more important than tennis. When I play tennis, it was 8 hours every single day. I didn't care about the pageant.
6 and 7 days a week.
I didn't care about a football game. I didn't care about a baseball game. I didn't care about hanging with my friends. And that's why American tennis players suck. They're so busy into their social life. Ooh. They want to look pretty in the camera instead of working their butts hard. If you want to be an athlete at any sport, you need to train right. You need to eat right. You need to dedicate every single moment that you have on that tennis court. Because you better bet that somebody else in another country is doing the same thing. And that's the problem with our students.
They're getting down.
They don't train. They don't dedicate that time to tennis. They're busy with their social life.
Exactly.
And it comes from the parents. The parents are pushovers. They also want to be there. Or I've seen some parents that don't even want to be there for their kids' tennis lessons. They're so busy into themselves, they don't worry about what their kids are doing. And I'm sorry, I get angry because I go through this almost every single day. You want to be good in tennis? You better put some work.
And you better find a way to fight and fight like a young man or a young lady. Or when you get into any type of tournament that matters, where there's international hunger out there, you're going to get pulverized. Okay?
And then they worry, why are we getting scholarships? Well, there you go.
There you go. That was number one reason, the death.
But this kid did deserve, or this man did deserve
some support.
Some support.
Yeah, I agree. Now you can't blame the American consumer, because let's look at this. If I'm a consumer, which I am, now you and I have been to 1,000 tournaments and been in this player, so we're not itching to go see a tennis tournament. But there's a lot of people that haven't and would love to go watch professional tennis. Now, we can either use as an example the New York Open or the Delray Beach Open. We've talked about the New York Open for a year and a half. The Delray Beach Open has always been kind of the mindset. It's for new and young, inspiring players from, say, the U.S. It's a U.S. tournament. We give wild cards, etc. It's for players coming off injuries like the Del Potros or the Tommy Haas's that have played this tournament before. It's a warm-up. It's stay fresh in a comeback spot. I'm surprised Kyrgios is even playing in this, but he pulled out of the New York Open already. I guess he couldn't have pulled out of 2. But look at the crowd at the New York Open, empty. Look at the crowd here, empty and no support.
Well, look who they gave the wild cards to. We had another article that said wasted wild cards. They gave one to Jack Sock. Jack Sock looks out of shape, looked like he's playing maybe 3.5 tennis with a beer belly.
And the locker room, and
just an a-hole.
And he's an asshole. And that's no secret. Jack Sock has never been liked 100% across the board in the international locker room. Maybe here with his buddies, by the looks of his beer belly, his beer drinking buddies, with the likes of Isner and Harrison and Fritz and Donaldson and Opelka, Red Bull drinking Opelka himself. So you're telling me that's the future of tennis is Paul Bunyan, lumberjack John Isner. No disrespect to Taylor Fritz, fine young man, Jared Donaldson, Tennis Sandgren, Riley Opelka. That whole Red Bull Paul Bunyan looking beard thing is not any good for me. But you can't tell me that people are going to take off of work
Well, maybe
and spend their hard-earned money to go watch these guys.
It's cheap to see it. Anyways, cheap to see it.
It's not even fun.
Kyrgios, I think that's why they have him there, because a lot of people will go watch him. You have Raonic, you'll go watch him. Millman lost already, so there goes that. I mean, Kemanovic is playing Thompson, so who knows? I don't know. Maybe some people will go.
Not only are there hardly at the highest levels.
This one will get full, Justin. It's down in South Florida. Floridians love tennis. That's why everyone goes to Florida, no matter who plays.
Not only are there no American kids at high-level colleges playing on teams, a sprinkling. A sprinkling.
And maybe in California.
But
I've seen more Americans play
But
in California.
the tennis tournament, American-based tennis tournament, is on the decline. American-based tennis tournaments are on the decline, period. And have been for a lot of reasons. Again, if you're going to take off work and you're going to maybe go see Opelka, Tiafoe, Isner, Fritz Donaldson, Tommy Paul, Steve Johnson, Sandgren, you can't tell me that it's on your top priority to do so, is all I'm saying. And it's a sad thing. But this person, Jovica Illich, wrote it perfectly. The way the way that she read it was almost exactly kind of what our feelings were. It's a depressive site, but unfortunately that's the way it is here, and tennis will continue to decline until we get one thing, an American superstar. But I don't see one out there, an American superstar on the men's side.
Right.
All right. Next topic real quickly, Gael Monfils, as we know, won Rotterdam. I think that was his second title in a row. I read something where his eyes were definitely at this point on winning a major, and that's the only reason why he was continuing to play. Should Monfils keep looking elsewhere, or does he have a set object that he could attain? Can he win a major?
Monfils?
Now, we've said this for 12 years.
No.
I don't think so either.
That's done and past.
His opportunities have come and gone. Not saying he couldn't. Again, we've talked about his athleticism. He has won 2 tournaments in a row, but let's be real, the big 3 haven't been there. So I don't even care. You could throw Medvedev in there. You could throw Tsitsipas, Wawrinka. I don't think he would beat any of those guys either. So I think it's a long shot, but best of luck to him. His girl Svitolina could use some luck after not doing too well in that Thailand tournament that she should have won easily. But Gael Monfils, the best of luck. I've always liked Gael, but I have a 0 chance of him winning a major.
Talking about his girl, she just got beat by Jennifer Brady pretty badly. So here she goes 2 in a row.
Yeah, that's
not looking good for her.
Yeah, not looking good for her this year, right? Kim Clijsters, we talked about this briefly. Kim Clijsters, as we know, lost to Muguruza on the return. We didn't have a chance to go over it real quickly. We won't on the last show, but real quickly we'll go over it. Her showing against Muguruza was expected, a kind of a lopsided, unforced error filled double fault starting to pile first set.
Well, you could tell she was rusty because she was hitting a lot of forehands out. That's normal coming back, but kudos to her for making it close on the second set, right?
Yeah, tight.
She just needs to get in shape and needs to get a few more matches under her belt. This was not a good tournament for her to start.
She should have started at something like equivalent to the Delray Beach Open. She wouldn't have sold many tickets, and that's all right, because this is about getting matches back under your belt and getting a little bit of that. I'm not going to say nervousness, because she's a Hall of Famer or is already in there. But sometimes we get back on the court, we haven't been there a while. Even if you and I go and hit like after an injury, I sometimes get a little anxious that I'm going to be rusty. It's just a mental thing. But she had 10 double faults, 23 unforced errors, only won 58% of her first serve points. She couldn't get anything going, especially in the first set, but no match confidence, rusty to be expected. She is drastically out of shape. So again, much love to her. Hopefully she does well, but it's going to take a lot of work.
Yeah.
I don't know if that body's going to hold up and put in the amount of work.
She could work her way into shape like Serena.
Like it would take a year or 2, I think, to get in that shape. She would have to put in a lot of work for a year or 2 to get that body from where it is now, what we saw, to what it's going to take.
It's tough.
Just saying. Anything from Dubai that jumped out at us?
Well, Benchik goes down again to Pavanchikova. She hasn't had a good year to start with. I mean, it's been rough for her.
Yeah, she lost to a qualifier and the Fed Cup. I thought it might just be because lack of interest of the tournament. She goes down in this one. She wins the first set 6-1, and then subsequently loses the next 2 sets 1-6, 1-6. Goes down brutally, harshly. I wonder what happened there. I couldn't see the match.
Kudermetova beats Yastremska, so that's a great match for her.
So
Yastremska's a tough player.
Yeah, Dubai's always been a fun tournament. The tournament, though, I think is a little much for Clijsters to
that was
to
too much
claw
for
her way into.
Definitely.
Something on par with the Delray beat Open.
And so Lavina lost to Brady. They should have switched that and given Clijsters Brady. She would have had a bit more chance to get warmed up.
Yeah,
it was originally Lavina Muguruza, and then they switched it.
Or Clijsters made.
They didn't do a favor. They didn't do her
or
favor.
start like Thailand. She could have gone to Thailand instead of Svitolina. Clijsters.
Yeah.
But too much for her too soon. Felix Auger-Aliassime jumps up to number 18 in the world after the Rotterdam final. Will we see Felix continue to climb up, or will I be right in a sense that he will have a rough year? I know he made one final, but he had kind of a rocky start before that. Lost in the final to an aging Monfils. If he can stay at the 18 in the top 20 seeds heading into the French, he'll have a much easier draw than if he came in at 22. Mm-hmm. So is he going to stay there, or is he still falling into some of these categories of guys that are young being a little too soft at that age?
I don't know. I mean, he hasn't done well on the slam, so hopefully he does better at clay. I mean, he is good on clay, so we'll see.
Can he win a few rounds at these Masters 1000s coming up?
I think he can. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it depends on draw size. Some of these Spaniards over here that are going to come in as wild cards are tough customers.
Yeah.
People like just Ramos Vinolas that lost to this kid Alcaraz last night. Both of those guys are going to be probably unseeded going into these Masters 1000s and can pull off upsets on that type of surface. What about Verdasco? I think Verdasco went down.
Verdasco just lost.
He just lost, what, in Rio or... Yeah, I think in
Rio. Yes.
So I get it, but look, here's another example. Veteran Andujar. These guys come to dirt ball and they can grind your face off. Sure. Don't forget about like veterans like Granolers and stuff like that. If they get wild cards to come in and play in Spain, watch out. They'll cause damage. Feliciano Lopez's. I don't know if Felix is ready for these type of dirt balling veterans.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's going to be a rough road.
Well, he did play Rio Open last year.
And made it to the finals and lost to Giri. Laszlo Giri.
Giri did not play at the Rio Open. He pulled out. They didn't say if it was injury. It says forced to withdraw. That's all it said.
So I don't know. I don't know how the points defense works there. I think if you have an injury, you're protected. So I don't think Giri will have to lose those points. But I think Felix played in Rotterdam, so I'm thinking that he didn't back up his points, but did good enough to get more points in Rotterdam.
Yeah, and he's playing Marseille Open.
There you go.
He plays tomorrow.
Marseille,
yeah.
All right, well, good for him. We'll see what happens. Again, I will stick by my guns and say that Felix does have a rocky 2020. Naomi Osaka has a new documentary series coming up on Netflix. Are you interested?
No.
Who gives a shit?
She's not a legend yet for me to be interested. I'll watch somebody that once was and had a long tennis career, and then it's too early in her career to watch that.
Wuggies, who cares?
Right.
So does that type of stuff take anything away mentally or physically from a world champion, two-time major winner? Does it mentally and physically take away from your training, mentally and physically, by doing stuff like this?
No, I just think she has to get her name out there, sponsorships, money. No.
I totally disagree with you, Carla. I think it's very incapacitating mentally, maybe just for people like me, and some people can shake it off, but let me tell you why. We are we as a whole, we talk about all the time, this is a self-motivated type generation. The 19-year-old kids act like, 23-year-old really weakies or something. You get what I'm saying? The kids don't mature. That came out wrong. The 23-year-old kids are acting like 19-year-olds.
Right.
Kids aren't maturing as quickly. People are self-motivated, taking selfie pictures, and look at me. I'm a aspiring tennis player, but look at me on the court with my makeup on. How does that make sense? So if she's making documentaries, she obviously is going to want to keep up. She is going to want to keep up with how many people are watching it, how many views did it get, ooh, who's watching my show tonight, calling all her friends, are you watching my show, are you watching my da-da-da-da-da-da. It takes mental fortitude away from tactics, training, fitness, diet, a 100% focus it takes in tennis. So if you're telling me that she's not thinking...
Well, Serena did struggle with this mid-career. She was doing a lot of these photo shoots and stuff, and then she went for a little period of time, then she came back into it and started dominating once she stopped that. So I guess, it might be tough.
Look, if she keeps dabbling and her photo shoots and her rapper boyfriends and documentaries, she's not going to win another major. She may not even make another final. That's in my opinion from a coaching perspective. I would tell her to get her butt back on the damn court and stop worrying about the stupid shit. Stop crying so much. Real quickly, we talked about this. Edmund won the New York Open, and I kept reading, Kyle Edmund, the resurgence of Edmund. He won the New York Open.
All right, anyways.
Yeah, exactly. There was nobody there. Again, another example of the decline of American tennis tournaments. There's nobody there, no one in the stands.
Get rid of the tournament. Put it somewhere else.
Yeah, we talked about Delray Beach. Delray Beach, at least this year and the past couple of years, gives every American hardcore fan.
But they fill up their stands, and you've seen it. We've watched when Del Potro was using it as a warm-up. They do fill up their stands. They have to. It's Florida.
Okay. If you think that a bunch of rich people in that area will cause the common tennis fan of the U.S. trying to say, come on, U.S. tennis, to come out of their negative funk, you're crazy.
I'm not saying that, no.
All the tournament is, if their stands are filled up, that's some of the most money in the world in that area. That's all self-motivation. The people there,
I'm here.
People there are incredibly rich.
Yes.
Incredibly rich. Lamborghinis and Ferraris abound.
Delray Beach is
They are there to take pictures in their yachts and sailboats, and they are there to drink and to eat because they can afford it. Yep. But if you're going to tell me as a diehard tennis fan that does a smack talk, real passionate tennis show, and you're going to tell me that I'm supposed to watch that tournament and I'm supposed to be positive about the future of men's tennis.
Isn't that what Albot played last year and won?
You're freaking crazy.
Did Albot win last year?
Albot can ball.
But he played that tournament last year, remember?
Oh, good for him.
Okay. That was a good tournament for him.
The Delray Beach tournament, for me, as indicated by Jovica Illich, is a sad state of American tennis. It's a sad state. If you think because their stands are full that it's a positive for men's tennis in the U.S., it's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment. You have to get Kyrgios in there to sell tickets. You got Tomic that got put into the main draw after he had one of his worst losses ever. It looks sad on the court. No respect to Tomic and all his personal stuff. But, I mean, you got... I'm not going to start because American tennis is in a depressive state, period, on the men's side. Anyway, we talked about Bencic going down. Don't forget about Jabeur that keeps fighting.
Good for her.
And I noticed that Yastremska goes down.
I already mentioned that.
What's up, Team Sasha Bajin?
You got to move on to somebody else.
All right, that was kind of a fast show because we had to catch up from yesterday. But much love. Vamos, let's go. Come on. And look, I'm going to try to call it now, and I know a lot of parents say this, and I have 5 kids, but my 4-year-old is going to make a statement when he gets older in men's tennis, so get ready. Let's go. Positive. I know it's a lightning strike chance, but we're going to try. Let's go. Come on.
Bye-bye.
Boom. Let's go, 4-year-old. Let's go.